I don't know whether you still have sixth form activities, but there are always some girls who are Oxbridge material and are what I'd call the old blue stocking. And I remember this girl, Eleanor, and I found a man who did archery. So archery was one of the things in sixth form activities. And I saw her and I said, look, we've got archery coming in now. I know you can't stand physical activity, but will you have a go? You've just got to walk to the pavilion and there's a man there with a target and the rest he'll do with you. Well, 4 girls chose to do archery and they were all girls who couldn't stand physical activity. So I knew the director of sport at Sherborne and I rang her up and I said, look, I've got some girls who are doing archery. They're all a bit blue stocking, they can't stand physical activity, but they've decided they quite like archery because they try and get a better target each time they do it. So she said, yes, I've got a few like that. So we had a match. And these 4 girls got into the minibus and they were talking as I was driving along to Sherborne. And then they had the match. I can't remember who won, but I remember seeing the girls smiling at one stage as they took another bow out of their quiver. And then they had tea in a housemistress's study, and it was afternoon tea. And in the bus coming back, somebody suddenly said, I don't want to say this, but I've really enjoyed this afternoon. And the other 3 said, yes, you're right. I didn't know it could be so much fun. And I think that, of anything I ever did at Talbot Heath, was the thing that I remember. And because I really wasn't a games mistress. It wasn't the end of the world if Mary couldn't jump over a box. If she could get onto it, it was good enough, and if she could jump off without hurting herself. It was in the summer, a long time ago, girls used to play tennis in their ordinary school dresses. And I was taking a game of cricket here, and there were 2 other members of staff, and there were some girls playing tennis all down by the railway line grass courts. And I looked up from the cricket and suddenly saw these, there were only 3 girls, and they decided it was a lovely afternoon, very, very hot, and the 3 of them decided to just collapse on the grass, and they put their skirt of the summer dress right up here. So I just said, you over there, for heaven's sake, get up. I said, I can even see your knickers. And they both remembered, and that was a very, very long time ago, and I remember it too, because I felt that clever girls like to have a bit of sarcasm. And this was something, it's not good to teach with sarcasm, but it was the right thing for some girls. Those girls got up immediately and went on playing. The boarders used to have swimming in the summer every Saturday morning. They were not allowed to swim unless they could do 2 lengths. And I had a little Russian girl, a boarder in Form 1, and she used to come over to swimming, but she couldn't do the 2 lengths. And I think she went back to Russia at half-term and stayed with her grandparents. And she came rushing in the first Saturday after half-term. I can do 2 lengths. What's happened? Oh, I've been working at it. Her English was brilliant. So I said, okay, then you've come with your swimming things. Okay, get in the pool and I'll just see you doing your 2 lengths. She got into a big Russian cold river. She was so determined, and she was doing this. Very, very determined girl. In the Aberdare Cup once, we played Shrewsbury High School, and they came here, and the staff and myself were talking about things, and I said, we've got a little Russian, well, she's not so little, she was quite tall for her age, Katya Polyakova, and she's come age 7. So this member of staff said, that's odd, we've got one. So I said, well, this one's boarding, the mother is Russian and she's married a man called Bate. And Katya really wanted to be called Kate Bate. Mother used to go back to Russia. And this at Shrewsbury High. And they were wondering how on earth she managed it. And we decided that the Russians were doing this. Clever girls who could speak English at 7. And Katya would, there'd be a birthday in the house and she wouldn't know about it. She'd disappear for 10 minutes and she'd cut out a bit of paper and she'd rustle up a birthday card. That's another memory. It was, you know, we couldn't prove it, but when the Cold War finished, Mother, the Russian lady, disappeared back to Russia. Katya went to parts of that where she didn't have to pay fees, and I don't know what she did. She was a very clever girl. There was a Japanese girl with her Shachiko. The stepmother arrived and said that her stepdaughter was losing all her Japanese charm, you know, because they did this all the time. Sachiko got friendly with Katya. They loved swimming together. But it's a school, I don't know, would you still say that it's a school for clever girls?
I would definitely say yes. Yes and no. I think that it's a place where girls perhaps that find academics hard, but they can still thrive. But there's still many clever girls here, definitely.
You know what the TA is like? Being a soldier in your part-time. I joined the Naval Reserve for a long time while I was here, and I used to go 2 nights a week to Southampton, and then I used to do inspecting and further. And I did one of my fortnights naval training in Gibraltar, and the senior officer there was called Flag Officer Gibraltar, and I was in charge of some Wrens, and we got a whole lot of minesweepers coming in to Gibraltar, and there's a lovely view, and there are apes up there, and anyone who was a sort of head of people was invited to the Flag Officer Gibraltar's house for an evening meal, and I was the only woman, and the rest were men who had sailed their minesweepers from this country over to Gibraltar. And it was summer, August, and I arrived, and a really nice wife, French, she said, come and meet my son. And she said, he's at Camford. So I said, oh really? I said, I'm teaching at Talbot Heath in my civilian job. So I shook hands with him, and she said, I'm afraid he's been rather upset. His housemaster said he was to go to this do at Talbot Heath, and he was 13, and the rest of people were older. And Mrs. Flag Officer Gibraltar said he went to the dance, and he was told he must ask people to dance, you see, and he went up to a Talbot Heath girl and she refused. And I felt awful, but what could I do? Anyhow, when they went back at night, of course, all the boys were talking about the girl they'd found. And there was one when Dr. Macpherson was here. I remember she with another member of staff, they had this large lantern and they had to go round the corridors upstairs to see that people hadn't escaped from the hall and dancing. And I don't know whether it's still a laboratory upstairs, but she had this lantern and she opened the door and here were two of them on the floor and they wouldn't get up. And, well, it was just young people being young people.
I'd like to keep going.
Sorry.
I'd like to keep talking, but I've got to...
You've got to go.
I've got lessons.
Yes, well, thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you. It was very interesting.